cold, snowy day here on Salt Spring, so a very good day for us to be practicing indoors in a seated position, doing very light exercises, but good stuff to practice every day when you have a spare moment. So this is just some of the things I go through, mostly in the evening, and I'm going to start off with some neck exercises and then go into some of the arm movements that I've been talking about. The neck exercises are just what we usually do in class. One of the things that I'm doing is I'm aligning my head as I'm doing this movement, and so the top of the head is pulled up and the back of the neck here is pulled up with a very slight chin tuck, dropping my shoulders, dropping my elbows. So even my shoulders are getting a bit of a stretch in this one. And back and forth, side to side, many times as you like, really. And sometimes I'll even pause, let the stretch develop. No rush when you're in the privacy of your own home. And the next one, I'm going to open up the back of my neck with my forward motion. Even in a seated position, you can see that the chest does sink and round inward. Shoulders come a little bit forward. And opposite movement, stretching down. In a seated position, I can get just about to solar plexus area. So again, just take your time, pause the video if you need to, and do more, as many as you like, really. And next one, doing the half circle. At the end of the half circle, again, dropping shoulders, realigning head and neck. And taking that into a full rotation, all the way around, jaw closed, shoulders sunk. Now on this one, the chest closes slightly and then opens slightly. And quite a bit of movement inside the shoulder joints. I'm not really moving my shoulders, so I'm allowing a little bit of back and forth rotation along with the head. Here, if I exaggerate, you can see the shoulders moving back a little bit and then moving forward a little bit. Okay, and that's about it for warming up the head and neck, beginning to loosen the shoulders a little bit. The next one I want to go through with you is what I was writing about in the Simple Test article, and that is the idea of extending your arm in a very released position. And by released, I mean that the shoulder should be sunk until it's heavy and the elbow sunk until it's heavy. If you can maintain that as your arm stretches out, this is what we're looking for. You want to create a stretch that goes all the way from here, where your chest should be very concave, all the way out to your fingers going through the arm. If you tighten your arm, your elbow is going to point off on an angle outwards instead of being released and pointing downwards. And that's where the classics say shoulder should be down, elbow should be sunk, pointing straight down. So now the lengthening part of it is mostly going to happen in this area, and you can see my arm right now starting to lengthen out. And typically I can get about 4 to 6 inches of lengthening, no tightening going on as I'm doing that. Okay, and of course you can try it both sides. play around with it until you start to get comfortable. This is an extremely strong position that we're practicing, and my students will back that up because I frequently get them to push my arm into me, and simply by loosening and extending I can either counter their push or in many cases actually move them backwards. So with both arms, this movement is in Yang Family 21 Qigong, and it's in other Qigong sets that I practice as well. So really, really good. Right now I'm experiencing kind of an achy stretch coming up through my arm, and that position translates very easily into the hook arm. It's exactly the same sort of position from here to here. No popping your shoulder out of joint and raising your elbow, creating a major misalignment of the arm. So the root of the arm, of course, is the shoulder, and the root of the arm has to be capable of rooting. This, of course, is floating, and you can't have pump in a floating arm. So here, very, very heavy. If someone were to put their hand on your elbow and try to raise it up, even when you're stretching, it should be very, very heavy. So that translates very easily into the hook arm. If you look at doing it on this plane, same stretch, exactly, and it translates into front arm when we're doing single whip. So doing push translates again from this movement that we were just practicing, creating a stretch, to this movement. The stretch in this case now, it's more emphasized that we have very heavy stretch going this way down into the elbow, making the elbow very, very heavy, shoulder very heavy, and the fingers being light and stretching upwards. So we have a stretch here, we have another stretch here coming up, and that is going to affect this area. It's going to go in through your back. Obviously doing this, you can't have your chest pushed out. That's going to block all of your movement. Releasing the shoulder joint, in this position anyways, requires that the chest be concave. The higher your arms go up, the more your back should open, the more your chest should become concave. So also translates quite easily into press in Yang style and into other positions that we do in Chen style. Okay, those kind of things. So frequently when I'm just working out a little bit on my own in the evening, I'll just practice something like moving the arm back and forth. If you do this with the idea of keeping the arm very heavy, you should feel that there's engagement coming into this area, a lot of it in the lat area, with the chest again being quite concave. So something that a lot of people don't have in their movement is in a posture like push. As the hands rise, the chest should sink more. So at the end of push, when you're doing this movement, you're actually moving further into your back and out of the chest. When we're sitting back and the hands come down roughly shoulder height, what should happen then is that the chest opens slightly. Again, this is very basic body mechanics. So here the power's more on my back, and here the power goes slightly to my front. Okay? Very good exercises. Keep reminding your body over and over again of how we want to move in a released internal manner. Okay? And that's very, very simple to do. So sometimes I'll just hold a movement and try to feel and loosen and sink a little bit more, improve my integrity just by playing with it in this manner. So looking at this hand, you should be able to see this one a little bit easier, that the elbow is actually rotating a little bit in, the hand is rotating a little bit out. This is the correct position again. Elbow always trying to come towards your center line, never flaring out like that and causing misalignments. So even in the hook arm, this was discussed in the article, the elbow can't go away from your center line, it has to go towards your center line. In that manner. So here the elbow is coming in, the hand is actually rotating a little bit outward. And this appears in many other postures as well as these two. but these are the main ones to practice. If you're doing something like wave hands, it's a little more difficult to see, but it's the same idea. Your elbow absolutely can't flare up like that. Even in the high arm here, the elbow is down a little bit, and the energy of it is inwards, towards the body. So I hope you enjoyed that little bit, and I'm going to follow it up in a moment with doing some standing.